Hello and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Dylan. I like to think I'm a wizard, but I often get spaced out whilst reading. But I didn't space out whilst reading this book because I had such a fantastic time. And what was this book? It was Empire of the Damned by Kristoff, book 2 of the Empire of the Vampire trilogy. And it was a 5 out of 5. There's no need for me to hold that back, guys. You know how much I love this series. So going into my spoiler-free thoughts straight away, I'm not going to tell you guys anything about the plot. If you haven't read book 1 yet, I highly recommend you watch my video on that. I'm going to tell you about the story, the writing, the plot, the characters, the world building, all of my thoughts, spoiler free. And because Kristoff does so many twists in so many great ways, I'm not going to say anything about book 2's plot for now. I'll give you my thoughts on the full book later, but if you haven't read it yet, I'm not going to spoil anything for you. But if you do read this series, you are going to get Grimdark mastery. If you love Grimdark, if you love heavy prose, if you love an unreliable narrator, this is something that you're going to want to read. Now, Kristoff, he keeps his things dark and edgy. If you didn't have a phase as a kid where your parents said, it's just a phase, and you were listening to a bunch of screamo music, you might not be as into this book as I was. But I love Metallica, I love Parkway Drive, and Kristoff just writes for emos. It's edgy, it's great. He does lay it on thick with the prose. For me, I love it. The analogies, the descriptions he uses are so unique. They make me smile and they just get you thinking, and the imagery is just superb. His characters and the unique voices he's able to give his characters is among the best in fantasy. So our main character in this story, Gabriel de Leon, he is my favorite character in fantasy. He is an older character looking back, talking about his younger self, talking about his past self, looking at his actions, and he knows he has flaws and he's wiser for it, possibly. He is just someone you love and cheer for because he knows he's not perfect, he knows he's messed up, and he just owns it. And he's just always there for the banter and the wit. The person he's telling his tale to gives really good back and forth. The banter between Gabriel and the person he's with is fantastic. And the other characters in the whole story are just so well done. They mesh together perfectly. The dynamics between the characters and their relationships are done so well. There's some steamy scenes in this book that were just real steamy. I had my headphones on listening to the audiobook in the gym the other day, and I was like, oof, I'm going to have to turn this off. Again, the plot of this series, I recommend watching my review for book 1. I'll dive into the plot fully there. But this is a land where for the last 17 years, the sun hasn't fully been able to rise, so vampires have fully taken over the lands. And we were in a jail cell with Gabriel de Leon, and Gabriel has been caught. He was a former warrior of the sect of the Silver Saints, which is like a warrior guild of the church that would fight back against vampires. Having Gabe tell us his story about what happened in the last 17 years, but also what's been going on more recently, that links into the events of the entire world. That is really important. But again, we won't go too much into that. The world building in Empire of the Vampire is my favorite world building in fantasy. So I am giving this all glowing reviews. I am very biased. This is my favorite series of all time. The way that Kristoff has written his vampires, how certain vampires have different unique abilities, the way he's written it, how the gods kind of got involved in this world, and how the sun doesn't shine anymore. In the Empire of the Damned, he introduces a new fantasy species that I love. It's a fantasy species that I want more of in all the books I read, and I don't get enough of it. And also the things he does with his world building in relation to Gabriel and the Order of the Silver Saints are super interesting. So for me, if you like dark fantasy, if you don't mind heavy prose, this is a series that you're going to love and you're going to want to check out. And Empire of the Damned did a great job continuing on everything from book 1 and growing upon the story, growing upon the world, and doing everything a book 2 should. Now, yes, for me, book 2 is a slight step down from book 1, but these are still top 4 books of all time for me because the writing, the characters, the world building, the plot all weave together perfectly. They all elevate one another. The writing elevates the characters, which elevate the world, which elevates the plot, because they all weave in together. Fantastically done. If you haven't read this series yet, please go do it now. Now, I just wanted to talk to the people that have already read this series and just ask some questions and ask you guys what you thought about it. So for me, the first thing that got me jumping out of my chair when I read this book was when they added in the next POV. I was not ready to have Selene pop up. I should have seen it coming. I should have read the first book, known that Kristoff was going to be adding a POV and seen it, but I didn't see it coming. That was an absolute blast and surprise for me. I personally just didn't enjoy Selene as much because she didn't have the same banter going back and forth with John Francis that John Francis. Oh my God, what's his name? John Francis. Now, I personally didn't enjoy the Selene POVs as much because I didn't like her back and forth with John, our interviewer, our historian. I personally liked Gabriel's voice so much, his tone, his wit, his banter, and the way he talks about himself and the stories. I would like his storytelling so much more. But I think it says so much about Kristoff as a writer, the fact that he can make those two so distinctly tell their stories in their own way, how they've got their own biases and their own way of talking. I think he's nailed down character voice perfectly. So although the Selene chapters brought down my enjoyment of the book, I still had a great time. Now the plot, I liked a lot of it, but it just felt like that middle book slump where we're just in the middle of the story. We're not getting the juicy start or the end. So we're just waiting for big things to happen. I did love the battle at the end, how they brought both Gabriel and Selene into the same room to have that back and forth. And that really built up to the ending so well. I really had to make sure I was paying attention so I could get what's going on in both things. And then that ending right at the end, seeing Gabe have that interaction with Dario and then seeing Selene have that interaction with the mouse telling about what happened. And I listened to it twice and my brain still can't really comprehend what happened at the end with Selene. Like that baby that came up, like it was, is that the rising of the god? Is that Dior coming back? Um, that one tricked my brain a little bit. I've listened to it twice and I still didn't really grasp the importance of that, which I'm a bit disappointed in myself in who or what that is that came out at the end. So I would like you guys to explain that to me in the comments if you could, just to help get my spaced out brain a little less spaced out. Just a little bit of appreciation for Ash Drinker. Just starting off with, like, every time we get Ash, I just laugh. The songs that he'll just be singing, especially in the audiobooks, like the voice is done perfectly. Just the singing he'll do whilst Gabe's trying to fight and do stuff, fantastic. The introduction of Phoebe, well, not introduction of Phoebe, but the addition of Phoebe to this story and her species and learning about her people, that was something I really loved in this book. I always loved the idea of an animagus when I read the Harry Potter books, being a human that can switch into an animal more on choice, not so much just like a werewolf. And it's something that if I wrote a book, is like I would want to include. And I really enjoyed that, hearing about their culture, hearing about how their blood was able to make vampires and cold blood stronger. And her interactions with Gabe were fantastic. They did come on a little bit quickly, but fantastically done. The steamy scenes between those two had me flushing. Jay is really good at writing those. But yeah, so much happened in Empire of the Damned that I really need to reread it again. I won't reread it till the next book comes out. But what were your favourite scenes, guys? Please comment down below what you guys thought of the book. I really need to get this back and forth with you guys so I can help to understand the book even further myself and not just forget about it. Because even though I love these things, there was a lot that happened in this book that was hard to like take it all in, especially because I didn't have a physical copy because I was able to get the audiobook nice and cheap. Also, I've got to say, just the relationships in this book as an entirety were fantastic. Like Aaron and Baptiste, those two just put tears in my eyes. Like Baptiste's love for Aaron was just so heartwarming, and Aaron becoming a cold blood was something I did not see coming. So thank you, Jay, for just destroying Aaron. Oh, the thing that good grimdark authors can do is they give you hope that something good is going to happen, that there's a possibility for a happy ending, but they just take it away. Like every time I'm reading Abercrombie or J. Kristoff, I'm just like, you know what? This might actually turn out all right. There might be a happy ending. And then he's like, nah, that's not happening. And that's just one of the many reasons I love J. Kristoff as an author. Please, guys, comment down below your thoughts on this book. I appreciate you guys for sticking with me despite my ramblings today. I really couldn't script this video or find a way to lay it out that I liked. This is my third go at filming this. I just couldn't get things out the right way. I hope you have a fantastic day. Please subscribe, like the video. Have a great one.